Fourth time around. Podcast number 1. Hi, everybody. My name is Joe.
My name is Lisa.
And here we are with Fourth Time Around, our very first podcast.
Numero uno.
In what may be a series. We both live just outside Chicago. It's suburbia.
We live separately, but we're romantically involved.
Yes, we are.
And that always makes me laugh. And we're...
Makes you sound like a grown-up, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm romantically involved, and...
Are you seeing anyone? Well, yes.
Yes, I am seeing somebody.
Seeing someone.
That reminds me, did I ever show you that issue of the National Lampoon? There was an issue of the National Lampoon magazine back in, it was the late 70s, early 80s, where it gave all the code for what seeing somebody means, what being seriously involved means.
What dating means.
Right.
Out.
Are you seeing someone, or we're just friends?
Uh-huh.
I think the only other person who knows this, if anyone listening knows this, drop us a comment on our website, which is fourthtimearound.net with the number 4 at the beginning, 4th timearound.net, and leave a comment on that. It's probably not something that's appropriate for our very first podcast to discuss it.
But
my sister knows this because she read that magazine when I had it, and so to this day, the jokes still go around about, well, are you still seeing someone? And we're going to leave it at that right now. So
okay.
The point of our podcast is that we have lots of thoughts that we share between each other. We find ourselves having conversations about just about every topic, and we figured what better way to get those thoughts out than to broadcast them to the world at large.
Why not?
Over the internet. Everyone else has a podcast, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have 2 topics for today. What are we going to start with first?
Why don't we start with this one right here that I'm pointing at?
Okay. We are on the Chicago Tribune website, chicagotribune.com. That is not a paid endorsement, or an endorsement at all, really. Looking at some T-shirts available at Abercrombie and Fitch.
And this is, of course, causing some controversy among...
Controversial T-shirts.
Yes.
At Abercrombie and Fitch. One says, "Who needs brains when you have these?"
These.
Emblazoned across the chest.
Mm-hmm.
One says, "I had a nightmare I was a brunette."
Okay.
That's just... I have trouble being offended by that. As a brunette, even, I have trouble being offended. One says, "Available for parties," which I had to explain to Joe, so I don't know that that's really very controversial. I'm not sure. It's obscure enough that I don't know if it's really very damaging.
Right.
But let's talk about who needs a brain when you have these. Well, here's what we're talking about. There's some girls boycotting this. They're actually calling it a girl cot. But a lot of other teenagers don't seem to think it's much of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The idea being that nobody really thinks that, right? Nobody really thinks that you don't need brains because you have a nice body.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's dangerous. I think girls today can say that because they never grew up in a world when that was kind of the way people thought. So
what you're saying is that perhaps the thought behind this is the fact that we've now reached a point in our society where where people can see that and say, "Oh, I get it." Oh.
Yeah, but I think that's dangerous to mess with.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very dangerous to mess with.
Because the more I think about this, the more it bothers me from a feminist perspective that women worked really hard only one generation ago to fight this exact kind of thinking. And now here we are going back to it. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a nice thought that we're far enough away from it that now we can joke about it. And I do think it's good to acknowledge that sort of thinking and talk about those things, but to joke about it, one more generation and...
Are these really offensive, or are they a sign that we've progressed? And my concern, and this is what led into another discussion that we had, is that the number one or one of the top 5 songs in the country right now is a song about a woman basically using her body to...
Well, no, I don't know if that's what it's about. My Humps by the Black Eyed Peas.
Yes. But there are people who think that that song has set feminism back 20 years. Okay,
you know what? I
read that on the internet somewhere. Okay,
somebody thinks
somebody thinks that. By George.
I think My Humps is. I mean, it's kind of nonsense. It really
Right.
is. It's a lot of playing with kind of silly terminology for body parts and milk and Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
But when people hear it, ooh.
So I don't.
But it's come to change, and what's happened is that in music and in literature and everything, they kind of sort of subdued that, or back in the old days of the movies, they would sort of imply things like that, and they weren't quite as explicit. And I think this clearly is just another step at what some people might view as the decline of propriety, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. But, it's when I see stuff like this, when I first saw the earlier version of the Abercrombie shirts, which were actually a little bit more, they were more racial. Well, they were in trouble for the racial ones, for the the Chinese laundry.
I'm not laughing.
I know, I'm not trying to... No, but there was that. And then there was... Last year, they were under fire for something that said... there was something about Virginia and your cousin or something like that.
Ew.
There was some incest reference to some southern state, or Tennessee, I think it was. And then the governor of Tennessee came out against that. So I think, from my standpoint, I think that Abercrombie is just... I think it's all... They're just trying to get attention, so they just keep coming out with this stuff. I don't think this is that unusual. Do I agree with it, or would I want my girls to wear something like this? No. But then again...
My concern with this... Now, when I look at it, who needs brains when you have these? It doesn't offend me. I am not offended. My concern is that, as a teenage girl, seeing maybe a girl in her 20s wearing that... it would make me really question how I view myself.
Right.
So
because then you wonder if people are looking at this and saying, geez, well, I wonder if they really mean that.
Well, right, because for it even to occur to you... I mean, any teenage girl is smart enough to say, my brains are more important and valuable than my body.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many messages saying that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly bombarded with messages that your body is more important, your appearance is more important. And then to actually see it emblazoned on a t-shirt on someone's chest is just another reinforcement. And it's really... the work of feminism is not done. And I'm not a huge feminist, but we still have a lot of problems with girls and body image. Maybe someday, when that's all a thing of the past, we could joke about this sort of thing. But I think by that time we wouldn't find it funny. I mean, it's funny, but you have to admit it's a little unsettling. Because Joe, that there are people out there who think that enhancing their bodies is as valuable as enhancing their mind or their education or their character.
No, that's why you have a large segment of the population, largely female, who are anorexic or bulimic because they're looking for a specific image and they're looking to appeal to a
does not cosmetic surgery cost as much as a year in college?
I believe so in some
Wouldn't
cases.
that money be better spent, maybe donated to a homeless shelter?
Well,
I'm just saying that, it's not like... And that's not a statement against the character of people who have that done either. I'm just saying that clearly as a society we value bodies pretty highly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so far out of the mainstream that we can laugh about it, really.
Right. So I like Lisa's idea of the T-shirt she wants to come up with.
What's that?
Which is... It was something having to do with your SAT score.
Oh, well, we were talking about the T-shirts that say boys are icky.
Right.
Because there are all these T-shirts now. Now, there's a whole different issue there with the tension between boys and girls, especially kids. And you have these shirts that say boys are icky, throw rocks at them. Or
right.
I like to beat up boys. I think it would be better to say I like to beat boys at science fairs.
There you
That's
go.
so geeky.
Of course, you're the one who has the foil T-shirt as
But
well.
I think a T-shirt I think a song like My Humps is about a woman who's proud of her body, and I think that's good. But actually what I was saying with the SAT score thing is, so now women see that their bodies can be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I think women have known that for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
That especially used on men, that their bodies are powerful. But I think it would be valuable to talk about meeting men on an intellectual level, you know?
But will that sell downloads on iTunes?
Of course not.
Of course not.
But you can jiggle yourself at a boy and then turn him down and feel real good about yourself, or you can beat him at the science fair and feel real good about yourself. And I think girls are being encouraged to take the first course of action. Well, I don't think boys and girls should necessarily have to feel competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt especially competitive with boys any more than I felt competitive with other girls. But I also never manipulated boys sexually.
Mm-hmm.
And I never needed to do that to feel that I was their equal. I like the term girl cot.
There you go.
I think no. You know what? Actually, now that I look at this, I thought it was parents who were boycotting. I'm glad to see that it's actually teenage girls who are girl-cotting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see that it's the target audience, not the target audience's parents, because you know what? The parents of the target audience don't have much say in right now. This is targeted at a group of kids who are old enough to make their own decisions, and I'm glad to see that some of them are stepping up and saying, no, that's not funny,
Mm-hmm.
even though it kind of is. Now it's time for Cheap Date.
So this is the part of the show where...
Joe spends all his time and money on me.
That's right.
Because he loves my body.
That's right. Except the only icy I'm going to buy you is going to be maybe a strawberry icy at one of the places that we go. Okay, so for our first segment of Cheap Date, what we're going to do is we're going to tell you about the former CNA snack shop, which is now called TNT's, which is located over on Campbell Street at Campbell and Wilkie Roads in Arlington Heights.
We went to, I still want to call it CNA. We went to TNT's this morning for breakfast at about 7:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
The hours are actually 5 to 2:30, so it's definitely for the early birds in the crowd.
Right. Breakfast and lunch. Or as their menu says, breakfast or lunch.
Breakfast or lunch, that's right. You can do the 11 o'clock thing where you get breakfast and he gets lunch, or vice versa.
And
TNT's menu can be summarized in probably 5 points. Eggs, bacon, sandwiches, hot dogs, fries. That's delightfully basic.
right,
And delightfully cheap. What can you get here?
right.
Fried
Well,
egg sandwich, $2.
exactly. Well, for breakfast this morning, you had what?
I had 2 eggs scrambled with sausage, grits, and wheat toast.
Mm-hmm.
That was like $3.
Right. And I had
$3.40.
And I had a half order of biscuits and gravy, 1 scrambled egg on the side, which was more like 4, and side of bacon. And the bill for the 2 of us together was like $10, a little over $10,
It's great that way.
which was good. So it's very reasonable. The CNA has always had sort of a it's sort of like an in the know crowd. If you drive along the street and you see it, you don't even think to stop in there. But once you've stopped in there, you realize it's a great place for lunch. My kids love it there. They love it there for lunch and breakfast.
The simplicity of the menu makes it a hit with kids and old men.
Exactly. You made that observation this morning.
You see a lot of older men in there with their little grandkids,
Mhm.
which is wonderful.
And they recently, as we mentioned, they recently changed ownership. The old ownership and the way that it had been for years was, it was great. It was always a great place. When the new owner came in, what has he done? He changed the countertops. He changed the outside just a little bit. He painted. He's in the process, it appears, of changing the booths around or upgrading the booths.
The major upgrades were now they carry real Coke.
Real Coca-Cola products, which is a big thing for me.
Whatever they had before.
Right.
And they added some things to their breakfast menu. Some things that I think are breakfast staples.
Mm-hmm.
Corned beef hash, biscuits and gravy, oatmeal and grits.
Right. And I've been a big fan of grits since my cousin Vinny, but also since...
Oh, there's a ham and cheese sandwich, and then grilled ham and cheese, $2.40 either way.
Mm-hmm.
A hot dog, $1.70.
Right. And then fries would be how much extra?
Patty melt, tuna melt, fries.
90 cents.
Fries.
90 cents. So it's a great place. It gets a lot of... I've seen a lot of Arlington Heights and Rolling Meadows police officers in there. Police officers, firefighters, a lot of early in the morning, sometimes a lot of people who work at the racetrack hanging out there. So it really is a great place.
It's fast, no frills, man.
Right. You get in there, you sit.
They don't even have menus.
Right. Everything is up on a menu board above the grill. The grill is right out there in front of you. Everything is pretty, it's a very simple place, but it's elegant in its simplicity.
But man, if all you want is just like some eggs and some bacon and toast, this is the place to go. You don't have to go spend $15 on the super duper platter and then only eat half of it.
Exactly. It beats the pants off of Denny's or IHOP.
Oh, gosh.
It wouldn't even, yeah. We shouldn't, well, what else? Oh, well, our friends Liz and Bob, who may be listening to this at some point, perhaps, you will always see them in the very back booth on Saturday mornings. And they've been going there, I think, pretty faithfully every single Saturday for the last probably 15 years, which is good.
Is that what it's like to be married?
Yeah. You do the same thing every Saturday morning for 15 plus years. I can think of worse things to do every Saturday morning for 15 plus years. So.
The prospect of getting up that early every Saturday for 15 years.
Well, for some of us, perhaps. Bob is a big fan of the French toast. I believe the whole wheat French toast.
Yum.
Yeah, it's really good. Pancakes are good. Everything is just really, really good there. So, 2 big thumbs up for TNT's, formerly CNA. It's on Campbell Street, just east of Wilkie Road.
Great place to go and take your significant other when you wake up in the morning and one of you owes the other breakfast.
Exactly.
If you know what I mean. Sorry, do we have to edit that out?
No. We'll leave that in.
Is that too risque?
After our little hunk on Abercrombie and Fitch, I think we're okay. I think it's fine. This is the local portion of the podcast. So for those of you who are listening elsewhere, you can.
He's all about the format.
You can
so
either,
funny.
As David Letterman once said.
The scope.
As David Letterman once said, it's all format, zero content. As long as you have.
Not the case here, of course.
As long as you have the format, the content doesn't matter. I did want to get on my horse a little bit about one of the things about this is a related topic. Working in downtown Chicago like I do, where I've done for years, there is the Blommer Chocolate Company, and they have a factory just outside of downtown in a highly industrial area. There are warehouses, there are factories, there are train yards. There's a whole bunch of stuff around there, and a couple times a week they roast the cocoa beans, and it actually is really nice because it makes this nice chocolatey smell just kind of wafts over the city when the wind comes from the north or the northwest, and it's great because it covers up less pleasant smells that you might have in downtown Chicago, believe me. And so it's really nice. So you have this little chocolatey smell and whatnot. I read in the paper yesterday.
It smells like brownies baking.
It does. It smells exactly like brownies baking. Now, sometimes they burn it. They do burn it, so it does smell kind of like burnt chocolate, and it is kind of it's a less than pleasant smell, but believe me, I've
Sure.
lived in this area my entire life, and there are lots of unpleasant smells around here. But evidently the EPA now is coming after them because somebody complained of the smell coming from the factory and the fact that there
Who
was
would
cocoa
complain
dust.
about that?
Somebody who bought a condo in the area. As this area becomes gentrified, all of a sudden someone who moves there decided they don't like the fact that it smells like chocolate over there.
Why would you not like that?
You know what?
Get rid of that park. It's just taking up space.
Exactly. And I don't, and frankly, I don't understand it. And I think this is, my concern is that, and this is where the bigger picture comes in, is that I'm wondering if we're becoming, one of the things that's been said about upcoming and younger generations, that as the generations get younger, there's this feeling of entitlement that I want this and this is the way I want things to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems as though now we have an area of the city that's being gentrified, and suddenly everyone's saying, well, you know, this factory shouldn't be here. Never mind the fact that, you know, the building I'm living in used to be a warehouse, and it's, you know, it was converted a year and a half ago to condos, and I paid, you know, $750,000 for a 2-bedroom flat.
Can I chime in here?
Yeah.
I think if you want pure air that smells like nothing, I don't mean clean, healthy air, but I mean pure air that doesn't smell like anything, you should move to the country.
Agreed.
When did people get the idea that you could move to the city and not have noise or smells?
They don't have Starbucks in the country. That's the problem. They don't have Abercrombie in the country. That's the problem.
Well, there's Algonquin. They probably have Abercrombie there.
Well, Algonquin has everything now.
But really, you know, it's always been this way. Suburbs have spoiled us a little bit, but it's always been this way, that you can have the rural life with wide open spaces and fresh, clean air, or you can have the city life where it's a little more crowded and it's a little noisier, and smells are going to be a part of that. It's not a dangerous smell or an offensive smell, but I think I can understand wanting no smell, but there's a place to get that, and it's called Indiana.
Right. But then again, these are people who spent $750,000 on a 2-bedroom flat, and there are no jobs out there where they can pay that mortgage. So what they want is this goes back to my whole thing about entitlement.
What,
I guess
they want
there's
financial retribution.
I don't. Well, no, I don't know if they want that. But if they lived out in Rensselaer, Indiana, they wouldn't be able to afford a $750,000. But now they can have a $750,000.
Well, of course, $750,000 would buy the whole town.
Well, exactly. And the McDonald's. I've been to that McDonald's several times, by the way, in Rensselaer. It's a fine, fine McDonald's. If you're going to buy something in an urban area, especially an area that's going to be that's a gentrifying area, don't complain about the fact that there's a factory next door that's been there for, you know, years and years and years and years, just because you don't like the fact of the way it smells.
Especially if it smells like chocolate.
Well, exactly. So, all right. Well, do we have anything else to say?
With that, we need to wrap up. We're way over time.
We are. But, you know, with creative editing, you'll be having a 30-minute podcast, I believe.
You'll never know it.
You'll never know. But we had a good time doing it.
You might not even hear this.
Exactly. This part might be cut out. You never know. If you have comments, by all means, please visit you should visit our website, which is fourthtimearound.net, fourth with a number, timearound.net, 4THTIMEAROUND.net. You can also send us an email at fourthtime, that's the number 4THTIME at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? People can leave comments on the Libsyn site.
Sure. And we'd love to get comments on the show topics.
That's right.
If one of these topics deserves revisiting, we're happy to do that.
Exactly. So, once again, we'd like to thank everyone for downloading this and listening to this. And for those of you who are listening to this, 20 or 30 podcasts down the road, when we finally got our act together and you're listening to this, we apologize. And we realize that we haven't really changed that much.
And you stay classy, San Diego.
Are we going to need classy sign-offs like this?
Thanks for stopping by.
Some sort of classy thing like that? That's right. All right. Oh, and our opening theme...
Oh, yes, credit time.
Credit time. there it is. Sorry, folks. I know we're working on it.
We can edit all this.
We'll edit all of that later. The song that we're hearing that we use as a theme is called Naked Under Leather. It's by a group called Rubber Band Banjo, and you can see their music and download their songs at the Podsafe Music Network website, which is music.podshow.com. Thanks again for downloading this.
See you next week.